In the news tonight, they're looking to run city schools in Watertown, and tonight, the superintendent candidates are taking their cases to the people. That story's first. Also tonight, the Senate begins looking into Russian interference during the 2016 presidential election.
We'll make a visit to see the Carthage girls lacrosse team. That story coming your way.
You're watching the North Country's news station. 7 News Tonight starts now. From our studio in downtown Watertown, here's Jeff Nelson.
They want to be the superintendent of Watertown City Schools, and now they're meeting the community. Good evening, I'm Chris Spiker in for Jeff tonight. Thanks for joining us. Watertown City School District is looking for a new superintendent for next school year. Tonight, residents got a chance to find out what the 2 finalists would bring to the city's schools. Here's 7 News reporter Amanda Corna.
Watertown residents are meeting the 2 people who could be Watertown City School District's new superintendent.
This is critical. I mean, the feedback that they're receiving from all of the members of the school community, from parents, from students, from teachers, from non-instructional staff members, administrators, is essential.
Watertown's Assistant Superintendent Patty Labar and Poughkeepsie City School District's Deputy Superintendent Dr. Ronell Cook are looking to replace Terry Freilich. He's retiring after 13 years as the district's superintendent. Labar has worked for the school district for 30 years and is well known in the community.
I just felt like it was the perfect timing. I currently love what I'm doing, and I just wanted to take one step further and make even a bigger impact on our community.
These public sessions allow residents to ask questions to both candidates and get to know them. Even though Cook would be new to the community, he says if he's chosen, he'll hit the ground running.
Meeting with local clergy, meeting with local community members, meeting with parents, getting a better understanding of what our students are dealing with even before they get to school and when they go home.
The Watertown Board of Education will make its decision on who the new superintendent will be in the coming weeks so that that person can start their job on July 1st. Amanda Corna, 7 News.
Time now for a first look at the weather. Let's bring in John Kubis. So April begins on Saturday, but it looks like we might be dealing with a little bit of snow this weekend, right?
Yeah, some accumulating snowfall potentially in our forecast starting as soon as tonight. Let's check out the few minutes.
Thanks, John. Continuing coverage of the case involving St. Lawrence County's district attorney. Lawyer Ed Narrow is requesting to have a special prosecutor handle his cases. Narrow claims DA Mary Rain is biased against him. At today's hearing, Narrow said about half of his cases in St. Lawrence County courts have dragged on for a long time.
I was hopeful that the judge understood that we have a large volume of cases pending in local court that are awaiting plea offers from the district attorney's office.
However, DA Mary Rain cited a chronic shortage of assistant DAs to handle justice court cases. Rain also says it's up to the defense lawyers to ask for a plea bargain. Written summations from both sides are due next week. Sometime after that, the judge will make his decision. New tonight, an arrest is made in last weekend's Cincinnati club shooting. Police announced 2 men have been arrested for their roles in the shooting. 27-year-old Cornell Beckley and 29-year-old DeAndre Davis are both charged with murder. Cincinnati's police chief says others could be involved in the shooting.
We believe that there were at least 3 different guns that made it inside of this nightclub, possibly more.
This is a tragedy of epic proportions. The worst mass shooting in the history of the city.
1 person was killed and more than a dozen others were also shot at the crowded Cameo nightclub at around 1 early Sunday morning. Police say the shooting happened after a dispute and was not an act of terrorism. North Carolina lawmakers repealed the state's bathroom bill today, but the repeal is upsetting advocates on both sides of the controversial law. The new law puts state legislators in charge of policy for multi-stall restrooms. It also stops local governments from passing non-discrimination protection measures through 2020. LGBT activists say the new measure still legitimizes discrimination, and social conservatives don't like it either.
This bill is at best a punt. At worst, it is a betrayal of principle.
It replaces one bathroom bill that made the state of North Carolina infamous with another kind of bathroom bill.
North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper signed the new bill today, but says it wasn't a perfect deal. A Watertown man faces 3 charges, including rape, in a case involving a teenage girl. Police say 23-year-old Joseph Reyes had inappropriate sexual contact with the 16-year-old and sent sexual pictures and videos to her cell phone. He's also charged with a misdemeanor in a separate case involving a 14-year-old girl. The Senate Intelligence Committee held its first public hearing about Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Now, a former member of President Trump's cabinet is in talks to testify. Craig Boswell has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Ousted National Security Advisor Michael Flynn is in talks about testifying before the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. His attorney would not confirm if Flynn is seeking immunity, but did say in a statement that the former White House staffer wants, quote, assurances against unfair prosecution. President Trump fired Flynn in February for lying to the vice president about conversations he had with a Russian diplomat. Meanwhile, the White House has invited the heads of both committees to review information the National Security Council claims it found during the normal course of business.
We want to make sure that the people who are conducting the review have that information, have access to it.
The invite came hours after the New York Times named 2 White House staffers who fed information to House Intelligence Committee Chair Devin Nunes, revealing associates of President Trump were caught up in an intelligence sweep of foreign officials. Nunes briefed the president and the media, but not his own committee, prompting calls for him to recuse himself.
And I do think that the White House has a lot of questions to answer.
The Senate Intelligence Committee held its first public hearing on Thursday. Experts testified there's little doubt Moscow was behind hacking and leaking Democratic emails and spreading fake news during the 2016 election. Former presidential candidate Senator Marco Rubio divulged he too was targeted.
That effort was unsuccessful.
Former FBI agent Clint Watts testified the Russians may now be trying to cover their tracks.
Follow the trail of dead Russians. There's been more dead Russians in the past 3 months that are tied to this investigation, who have assets in banks all over the world.
Committee members concede so far there is nothing to stop the Russians from interfering in the 2018 midterm elections. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
NASA is preparing to launch a giant telescope to open up more space exploration. The James Webb Space Telescope is the largest and most powerful ever built. Astrophysicists say it will help them look 13 billion years into the past to see the first galaxies born after the Big Bang. The Webb telescope is taller than a 3-story building and is expected to launch next year. North Country dairy farmers are trying to solve a big problem: falling milk prices. A national dairy economist updated Lewis County residents about the state of the industry in Lowville today. A main cause of rising prices: too much milk in the Northeast.
Trailer loads of milk are being dumped. Farmers are being told their markets are terminated. They don't want some of the buyers don't want their milk anymore. It's a supply-demand fiasco.
About 100 dairy farmers and other residents went to the meeting. The Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired of Jefferson County is moving into its new offices tomorrow. It's getting help from the 41st Engineer Battalion from Fort Drum. And 7 News reporter Aaron Bischoff tells us the group's new leader has a strong connection to those who have trouble seeing.
This stuff's all done. Everything in here is done, right?
It's been a busy few months for the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired of Jefferson County. They are packing up and moving out of their location on Prospect Street and into the new Northern New York Philanthropy Center in downtown Watertown. And the association also has a big change in leadership. Meet Larry Story, the new executive director.
But they are going to grant us the money.
Story's taking over for Nanette Pullis. The board wanted a change. Story was a special education instructor for 20 years. The Governor native spent most of his career in Texas, where he was president of a visually impaired support group. One of his top priorities here, updating technology they have to help those who are blind or visually impaired.
When I was in Texas, we had all this stuff. Coming back up here, noticing what needs to be done and everything gives me the advantage that, I know what I need to do to help bring it back up to where it needs to be.
Story is legally blind, so he understands how important it is for people to find help.
I will advocate for anybody that is, legally blind or visually impaired. I'm a fighter.
The association plans on being all moved in here at their new location the first week of April, and then Story plans to start workshops and seminars to help educate and advocate for the people of the North Country. Aaron Bischoff, 7 News.
Here's what's coming up next on 7 News. This week's North Country Arts All-Star tells us what inspires her to draw the finest details in her work. And the spring high school sports season is heating up. Mel has all the action later. Stay tuned.
This is the North Country's news station. You're watching the news with Jeff Nelson. Weather with John Kubis. And Mel Busler's sports. It's 7 News Tonight.